Hello and welcome. My name is James Davis. I'm with the Center for Business and Innovation, and I manage the ScaleUp program with the Thurston EDC, Center for Business and Innovation. At the Thurston EDC, CB&I, we are creating an ecosystem for entrepreneurs. We have a number of programs under our umbrella, including the Washington Center for Women in Business, which has introduction to business programs which are excellent for those that are thinking about just starting a business. So please share with your friends. We have the business coaching one-to-one, and we also have the Business Enterprise Startup Training Program, which is a comprehensive business training program that will help people really get grounded when they decide to launch. There is also the monthly Let's Talk Business series, which is featuring different expert speakers, similar to what we do here, but for those that are seeking a different angle from their peers. And we also have our business resource hotline. And if you haven't ever called that, please take a second, jot that down, 888-821-6652. That's going to be a direct connection to anybody at the CB&I and a number of different resources for entrepreneurs. As some of you may be well aware of, the ScaleUp Business Training Series is coming up here. We've got cohorts starting on June 30th and July 1st. We have 3 cohorts, 2 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. This series helps businesses scale and overcome certain obstacles to scaling. Such as increasing their financial acumen, increasing their marketing alignment and their value proposition, and also helping them to create more capacity and get them to work on their business rather than in their business. And we show you how through this program. And this is a 9-week program, which is a hybrid delivery. There are online courses that you can take at your own pace, as well as an hour and a half each week for 9 weeks, live facilitation where we have expert instructors training on the series, and they will also help get some peer-to-peer learning opportunities there as well. In addition, you get connected with the ScaleUp Alumni Network, which has a number of different small businesses all at the same stage as you would be. We also, under our umbrella, have the America's SBDC Lacey Campus, and we work to try to help provide some of those services through our SBDC advisor, Jennifer Dye. Those services are free. Most of the services that we offer through the CB&I ecosystem are free. SCORE is also represented here. And so if you're looking for a business mentor with lots of experience and years to dive on, and really get their feedback from true experience, and that SCORE, the Senior Corps of Retired Executives, is here to help. Again, no cost through that SBA program. Our Washington PTAC program helps people to get connected to government contracting, but also help you win government contracts. It's hugely important. If you've never dealt with PTAC, you intend to do business with the government, you need to take that down, washingtonptac.org. If you're in the Thurston County area and you're a maker or an inventor or want to prototype something, we've got the Lacey Makerspace. Throughout the state of Washington, the Thurston Investment Network is kind of like the Shark Tank of Thurston. We've got 40+ investors. We've done millions in different direct investments through this investment network. It's a great way to source capital if you are an established business with a value proposition that you feel you can pitch to investors. If you're not there yet, we can help you get to there. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, our COVID business hotline, this is a second opportunity to write that down, 888-821-6652. And these are the various organizations underneath our umbrella here. So, we've got something for everyone at the Thurston EDC Center for Business and Innovation. As I mentioned earlier, we're making an ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Feel free to reach out to me directly. My name is James Davis, jdavis@thurstonedc.com, and my number is 360-464-6051. With that all being said, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Rafael Colon, with the Employment Security Department. And he will be talking to us today about the Shared Work program and how you can use it to entice your workers to come back to work, and how the ESD and the funding there available can help you. So Rafael.
Thank you, James. Glad to be here. Let me know when you'd like me to share a screen, and I look forward to doing that.
Absolutely, go ahead.
All right, here we go. All right, are you able to see that?
I can, yes.
Okay, great. Let me get that in the proper place and then get this in the proper place. And then we'll be able to get to going here. All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this afternoon, late in the afternoon. It's late in the sense that we've been hosting a conference, a virtual conference for the last 2 days, particularly on this subject, to inform, educate, and inspire businesses to learn about shared work as a hand up in this economic recovery effort. Shared work has been around 36 years in Washington State, and it's been a hidden gem, if you will, because it's been known as a layoff aversion program. And so it's been looked at and leaned on in that way. But with the economic recovery efforts, the pandemic and everything that's happening, the federal assistance, we're really looking at a return to work effort using shared work and a retention effort using shared work. And I'll explain that in just a little bit. So I'd like to tell you that we started a campaign a few years back called Shared Work is a Shared Win, demonstrating that it benefits businesses and the employee and the community. And we just changed it just a little bit to say businesses, employees, families, and communities win with shared work. And so that's the campaign we launched using a Promote and Enroll grant that we received just a few months back from the U.S. Department of Labor. Part of that grant was and is to get the message out to businesses and to implement and improve the efficiencies of how we deliver those services with online services. Here's just a promo. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this, hoping that you know a little bit about shared work, but encourage you to visit our site and learn more by calling. In 60 seconds or less, you call our 800 number. I'll put that up in a little bit, and it's right here in very small print, but I'll repeat that. That number, 800-752-2500, option 3. In 60 seconds or less, we can tell you, if you call, whether you're eligible for shared work or not. So this will save you time and effort of having to go to the website, read, and find out if you're eligible. Let us serve you in the capacity right now where time is always important and you have lots going on. Our emphasis is around 4 pillars. Employers, the benefits to employers as to why they belong, because this is all driven with an application that an employer must submit. This is an employer-driven program. Employees benefit because obviously you get to retain that skilled talent, or you get to bring that talent back from having laid them off due to the pandemic. So they get to keep their jobs and they collect partial unemployment insurance. And I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of doing that. For families, well, if you're a family that keeps your health care intact and your fringe benefits, but you avoid the stress, the household stress of going on COBRA and all that has a ripple effect around those areas. The stability during this economic recession is great for families participating in shared work. And lastly, the community. If I don't have to relocate my family to another community or another area because we're in distress or my employer can't keep me, that's a huge benefit. Shared work is it's one of the most powerful tools out there right now in our economic recovery effort. We consider it a hands up, and it's making a difference not only in Washington State, but for 27 other states that have a similar program. The U.S. Department of Labor calls the program short time compensation. So you're on it for a short time period and then you get off. Well, there are 27 other states participating in the program. They call it work share in other states. We call it shared work, just because Labor and Industries has a program that's called return to work, which is sometimes confusing. And so we'd like to make that distinction wherever possible. I'd like to show you some numbers because I want to make this very simple and then answer your questions. The success of my time with you today is trying to answer your questions to inform you educate you, and inspire you to call that 800 number, and more importantly, to submit your application. And I'm going to try and do that with a few things. One is the county served in this area, and I'm only going to show you Thurston County, are Grays Harbor, Lewis, Mason, Pacific, and Thurston. That's done by the Pacific Mountain Workforce Council, who we have a great relationship with, and they work closely with the Chamber of Commerce as well. You may know that. We only have 364 businesses enrolled in SharedWork of close to 4,000 that are eligible. Or excuse me, of more than 7,800 that are eligible. We have, that impacts, those 364 businesses impact about 47,000 employees in the 5-county area of the Pacific Mountain. So that's an astonishing number. We're really surprised by that. But the impact that you can have, that we want, is to get closer to that over 7,800. We have over 7,800 businesses in the 5-county area alone eligible. We have 108,000 businesses in Washington state eligible, and we're only serving less than 4,000. That cannot exist with the program that has tremendous credibility. It's been a best practice model across the United States. It's been in this state for 36 years. And now there are so many other emergency rules that make it beneficial for businesses that a business should look at this as a resource to help them in their economic recovery effort. So how does SharedWork help right now? Here's how it helps. Various laws have made SharedWork free for employers. So there's zero benefit charges for right now. And I'll explain that so that you understand that clearly what that means. For the federal government under the CARES Act, which is the Continued Assistance Act, the American Rescue Plan, a number of them provide full federal funding of the SharedWork benefits from March 29th, 2020, going back to over a year, through September 4th of 2021. So businesses in Washington state have had a chance to jump onto SharedWork and use it and have no charges to their experience rating or unemployment insurance account. This is a huge win if you have 2 or more employees, because in order to qualify for this program, you must have at least 2 or more employees. That's a federal requirement that may change, but in the past decade, when we had a recession in 2008, 2009, that lasted to 2012, the federal government extended the program for up to about 3 years. Now, that may or may not happen with this administration. So it's due to sunset September 4th, 2021. But we are optimistic and hope that because we're in an economic recovery effort that they extend. We just don't know where that is right now. The state, the governor, he in the legislature established a proclamation 2058. It was the first and gross substitute Senate Bill 5061 that was signed this year. And it made it so that employers are not charged those SharedWork benefits when the federal government is paying for it. So smart to tag on to that and say, yes, we're going to waive that requirement if the federal government is paying for it. And that will help our state's employment recovery effort. We're excited about that. We've been sharing that message and trying to get it out in as many circles as possible. James has been a partner with us in trying to get the message out. We're working with all the workforce development councils in doing the same thing. And we just stood up a 2-day virtual conference that just ended probably a half an hour before I joined you. So we're trying to do everything we can to inform, educate, and inspire businesses to learn more about this. So how do you use SharedWork to get your employees back? Well, I'm going to share some bonus math with you so you can show employees who say they make more money on unemployment by being on unemployment than returning to work. That is totally false. And if you're looking at this from a purely economic standpoint, it makes sense. I understand that organizations like yourselves have values. We're keeping that employees important, but I want to give you just a straight and narrow picture of what happens if an employee is not telling the truth or does not want to come back to work. So this is just an example of XYZ company normally pays Fred and Nancy some $50,000 per year and laid them off in 2020 and is now offering old jobs back starting July 2021. They have an opportunity to come back to work. So let's say they were on a weekly benefit amount. They were drawing unemployment insurance on $50,000. That weekly benefit amount looked like $481. So they're now getting $481. They are receiving a federal entitlement of $300 that has been continued with the Assistance Act, and nothing from weekly wage because they're on full-time unemployment. That total is $781. Their weekly benefit amount is $781. But what if Fred and Nancy receive, what would Fred and Nancy receive if they refused to work? Here's where you come in. If you call Fred and Nancy back to work and they refuse, you have an opportunity to let us know. You do that with online services, you call, there's ways to communicate with us that Fred and Nancy are drawing unemployment insurance, you've offered them a job and they refuse, because with unemployment, it is a bridge and you must be able and available for employment. Otherwise, you could be denied unemployment insurance, and any benefits that have been paid to you at that time will be collected. So that's challenging for some employers who are employee sensitive, and the fact that they're having trouble finding employees makes it difficult to make that decision sometimes on telling on employees. But this is giving you the nuts and bolts and the reality of the impact that it has to you as an employer. So if Nancy and Fred are currently working for you and they return to work, here's what it may look like. Again, this is a rough example. So the weekly wage for them on $50,000 at 52 weeks is about $961. And that's all they would receive, because they're not drawing any unemployment insurance and they're not getting the federal entitlement, right? You have them back to work and that's where they're at. They're not eligible for unemployment insurance. But let's say that you apply for SharedWork, you get approved. Nancy and Fred were drawing unemployment insurance. They're 2 permanent employees you're bringing back to work and help you get your business up and going. You're offering them enough hours. Look what happens. With SharedWork, you reduce their hours, say 10%. That's the reduction. So their weekly benefit amount from the $481 is $48. With the laws within Washington state and the federal government, it says that if you collect at least $1 in unemployment insurance, you're eligible for the federal entitlements that are being awarded and being given right now. So $48 is more than $1. So you get $48, you get you get the entitlement of $300, and you get a weekly wage because you're now paying them. They're back on working hours. You're paying them X for their X number of hours. Let's say that's 864. That's about a 90% back at work. And that total adds up to 1212. So an employee who tells you that they're better off on unemployment insurance, not coming to work versus being on SharedWork, is not true, or doesn't understand what that is for the employer. So I want you to understand the bottom line to being involved in SharedWork. Your application was accepted because you're submitting an application to SharedWork saying, I have 2 employees that I'd like to put on the program. You might have 10 employees, but the minimum is 2, and that you're calling them back to work. You're giving them 90% of their hours. They get a 10% benefit of unemployment insurance because they were drawing unemployment insurance. They get their wage plus the bonus entitlement plus the weekly benefit amount. That amount will every time exceed what they would get on unemployment insurance alone. The other benefit, as we mentioned, none of this is charged to your experience rating through September 4th. However, up here, all this is charged while on unemployment. Down here, nothing is charged. And when nothing is charged, you benefit from that because your experience rating is not impacted over the next 4 years. None of that has an impact on you, and your tax rate benefits from that. You know, tax rates are determined on taxable wages. So with a reduced wage base, that's only going to help your tax rating as well. So I wanted to demystify it with a simple example like this, and take any questions that you might have as well. Just want to cue a couple more things here. Please call us at this number, option 3. We have a group of specialists that are there to assist you 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And we want to be part of this economic recovery and resilience and tell you in 60 seconds or less if you're eligible. And then we can help you through your EAMS, your employee account management system, online system, how to go about applying for the program and make it simple. It's been streamlined. It's a front and back form. And then you list your 2 employees and you're off and running. Now, as a former small business owner, I would tell you, as a prevention strategy, you could fill this out and not use it. but you're in the pipeline. In other words, you're ready. Maybe you don't need it right now, but I would encourage you as a business to apply and have your application there, because you have a 12-month period in which to use it. So even if you don't use it, you're ready. And let's say there's a road construction project in front of your business that's affecting your economic income, you can use it at that time. Anytime you are having an economic downturn that affects you, and you can put 2 people on this program by reducing their hours, you will benefit in the long term. But like what happened last year, many businesses did not sign up. And when the pandemic hit, which nobody knew was coming, we were in a backlog for weeks and weeks and weeks. And unfortunately, benefits could not be retroactive and were not paid to those businesses who could have had that hand up, and the employees it could have helped. So we're on a mission to educate and inform and educate and inspire businesses to get a closer look at this and see how it could help them. All right. Any questions?
So we do have a question from Stephanie. She's asking, does this apply to new hires as well, or only to returnees?
And that's a very good question. Returning workers is the first priority of your business. New hires, that exemption or exception will go away in August. We are not currently in alignment with the federal government, and they've given us an extra month or 2 to fall in alignment. So after the end of August, is my understanding, it will go away. So the answer to your question, as of right now, a new hire would qualify if they have a active unemployment insurance claim or would be eligible for one.
Elva asked if would this program work for me if I'm hiring again, but this is not a rehire. So I think that's the same. I think they're the same question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a rehire right now. If you're going to do that, you must get involved quickly, because that will go away due to statutory alignment with the federal government. We're in an audit exception right now until the end of August. I believe it's the end of August. I know it's in August.
So Rafael, one of the questions that I wanted, I know that you and I have talked about it before, but perhaps you can provide some insight on, is how many hours, what is the minimum number of hours that you can employ somebody while in this program? Like, let's say that you know, you're only able to bring them back for 3 days. Can you employ them for 24 hours in that week? And is there a minimum?
Well, the minimum requires 10 to 50% of their hours. So you can reduce them by 10 to 50%. So a 40-hour employee is 20 hours. A 40-hour employee from 10% would be what, 36 hours. I'm going to share with you another table here. Let's see. I can go here quickly and share it with you. Let me stop sharing here and then go back to my screen. I'm going to come back here and share with you the tables that we use, because I think you'll benefit from the examples. And this includes operators like restaurants who have operated at different hours. I'm going to share with you. Okay, great. Let me reshare and bring you up here, and I'm going to walk you through this very quickly. That's a great question. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to take you here to our SharedWork page. It's at esd.wa.gov/SharedWork, or you can go to sharedwork.wa.com or wa.com. Take you straight there. So I'm going to take you to what we call our forms and media library, which is where we spend time informing and educating employers. I'm going to scroll down here to what's called our employee payment calculation chart. And this is what we look at. And I'm glad you asked that question, James, because unemployment insurance looks at hours and wages. When you draw a regular unemployment insurance and claims, we look at the hours, we look at your wages, and determine the weekly benefit amount. And then you submit every week and we look at what the wages are. With SharedWork, we don't look at that. We only look at your hours. So we let's take an example of an operator whose employees work 28 hours to 16 hours. If prior to the pandemic, they were working 32 hours, that was their full-time schedule, and you join the shared work plan, and now you're offering them, let's say 24 hours to come back to work, anything that falls between the 16 and 28 hours is considered shared work, and they would receive a percentage. So for example, you're offering them 24 hours of work, they would get 25% of their weekly benefit amount. Plus the example we shared earlier, the other things, the weekly, the entitlement bonus of $300, the salary you're paying them for those 24 hours, the 25%, and that total will give you that. So this table is determined on the hours. So if you, prior to the pandemic, were operating your employees at 40 hours, you would come to this 40-hour table. Now that you're returning them back to work, you can only reduce their hours up to 50%, which would be 20 hours, and up to a maximum of 36%, which is 90% of the hours they're working. What happens? If they work 19 hours, they are now collecting regular unemployment insurance, and that impacts your experience rating. So back to that example, that if they're drawing unemployment insurance at the very top I shared with you, that impacts experience rating. Yes. And over the next 4 years, you're going to feel that. But if they're in shared work, if you keep them between 36 hours and between 20 and 36 hours, all the money that's paid to them, and there is no impact to you. So great question, James. All these tables have to do with the hours that you had pre-pandemic. If your business was operating with full employees at 38 hours, you use this table. But we will help you make that determination by looking at the employees that you submit on your form when you turn it in. If you submit 2 of them, or if you submit 10, or you submit 50, we take care of that analysis for you and then let you know which chart we're going to be working on with which employees. But these are them. It breaks it down very simply. Here's the example. If you use a 40-hour calculation chart, the weekly benefit amount of that employee was $300 per week, and now you give them 20 hours, that's 50%. They will get $150 plus the salaries that you're paying them for those 20 hours. So it's really magical in the sense that as long as you stay within the table, none of it's being charged to your employer rating. None of it will affect your taxes, your experience rating, because the federal government is picking all of it up. But if you slip below the table that you are assigned, that you're working with, either you go below it or above it, in this case, 37 hours, those wages paid during that 1 week will be charged to your experience rating.
You know what, though, Rafael, I think there was a collective sigh of relief when you said that the people at ESD would help you figure this out.
Yes.
Because I think this is a great reference, I'm just really glad that there are people at ESD that if you were to show them what you're working with, they can help guide you through the process.
Absolutely. These tables are all there because we have many folks who assign their books to accountants and third-party administrators and other folks, and they've wanted these tables there. They do the analysis themselves. But small businesses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, employees, we want to help them ourselves, and we walk them through them. We want them to be educated so that they make informed decisions about what they're doing. So awesome. We have a whole team of folks available to help you.
Now, we did have a question from Gary here. He said, you mentioned that this is also a prevention program. Can this apply to employees who are at risk of being laid off?
Well, at risk of being laid off means yes, because you're going to reduce their hours. So that's a retention strategy that we consider. You've already invested a lot in the development and the training of that employee. He or she may have been with you for years, and you don't want to let them go, but you're asking them if they would adjust their hours so that you can keep them and they can stay with you, the loyalty factor. So the answer to your question is yes. You would reduce their hours. Rafael's been working with you for 40 hours and he's been with you for 10 years. And you say, would you mind, Rafael, if we reduce your hours to 38 hours or to 25 hours just during this time period? The answer is yes, because that's how the program started back in 1984 as a layoff prevention strategy.
Awesome. I think you just want a bunch more people on that comment right there, having the flexibility to be able to reduce the hours without losing your employees.
And to pick on your word of flexibility, let's say 1 week, Rafael is asked to work 24 hours. Okay, fantastic. But the next week, he's asked to work 20 hours. And then the third week, he's asked to work 30 hours. You control that decision as an entrepreneur. You control that as a business owner. You know what hours employees need to work what week. And as long as they are working within that window of hours, you're great. There is no fact that you said, well, Rafael has to work 24 this week and he has to work 24. No, that's not the case. The flexibility of this program allows you to make those adjustments on the ebb and flow of what you're experiencing, as long as you stay within that table.
Now, Rafael, there's one other question, and I'm not sure I remember the answer on this, but I think you mentioned it last time, but if you have an incorporated business, right, does the owner count as one of those two employees or no?
That's an individual case. There are rules and laws related to that, and we have to take that case by each individual case. They have to call us. We have to look at a number of factors related to that. Are they the establishment of the Inc., the LLC business, or the nonprofit? Nonprofits now are being exempted in terms of experience rating, but whether board of directors, how it's listed and all that makes that determination. So it's a case by case. That's the best way I can answer that.
Okay, all right. Were there any other questions from our attendees? Well, we've got Rafael on the line.
Has anyone used the program to date? How about, had anyone heard of this program? So very few have and very few, okay.
And feel free to go ahead and unmute.
Please unmute.
At this time,
Please unmute. Joanna, you said.
I saw these emails coming through, but I had no idea what it was, so I just been ignoring them.
Okay.
But we're looking to hire someone, I believe. We're going to have a second interview tomorrow who's been on unemployment.
Great. How many employees do you have, Joanna?
We have 5.
Oh my goodness.
This will be our 6th.
Give us a call tomorrow.
And then I have another gal who's refusing to come back to work, that we're going to offer her reduced hours.
Okay.
So to work from home.
Okay.
That count?
Yes, absolutely. It counts.
As long as she's on the payroll, right?
Right. Again, we'll look at it with you and discuss it to see what she was prior. Is this a returning employee?
Well, we haven't had much layoffs. We've been very fortunate that our business last year sucked, but this year the first of the year just exploded. So that's why we're looking at hiring maybe even 2 people.
So she could be an example. She could be, and we'd have to do the analysis with you. She could be an example of someone who's refusing, but once you show her, hey, we'll bring you back at this number of hours, we'll still give you we'll still maintain your benefits and everything else, blah, blah, blah. She would be an example that you can show her that at the end of the day, you benefit and she benefits from returning to work at those hours.
Does that penalize the employee later on for if it's not part of our, do they still get the credit for working? I guess I'm confused about
credit
if
for
we're
working.
not paying unemployment and in a year from now I lay somebody off. Are they still going to get the full benefits of being?
Yes, because shared work is
paid by somebody.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. It's been there, so they would have had a work history that shows that they were being paid by an employer. Yes, so that's fine. They draw down their weekly benefit amount is established, and they draw down based on their draw. By being on shared work, they're lowering that draw, so it's not as fast, obviously, than if they're fully drawing the maximum amount. But let's say that individual in 6 months, 2 years, 3 years goes to work somewhere else. They would, when we look at the hours within the quarter to determine eligibility, they would have seen a work pattern and that would have been established. So yes, and remember that the employer contributes to unemployment insurance. It's the employer, not the employee, as you know.
Yeah.
Many employees have that misunderstanding.
And I feel fortunate because we have a pretty small rate, but I know for some people, this is crazy incredible.
You're absolutely right. And this keeps your rate down. As a matter of fact, it has no impact to your rate, which is great. So you could adjust the hours you want. We'd love to talk to you. Please give us a call. We'll help you. What we'll do is we'll inform you for you to make the right decision. If you say it's not good for me right now, fantastic. Or you might say, I'll just submit my application, but I don't need it right now. That's even better. And if you do need it, you'll benefit because you need it and you'll know why.
Wow. Well, thank you. Because yeah, it just shows you don't ignore your emails, right?
I want you to call, and I want you to just say, when you press that option 3 and we get a specialist, you say, Rafael did a webinar for this group. Okay. And he said that you could take care of me. You'll get taken care of, but you could say that you were on a webinar so that they know that we're out promoting this, and that you'll need that special. We have a red carpet assistance club.
Well, I appreciate that.
I want you to have that as a business owner. Yes, ma'am.
It is amazing, though. There's a number of different types of programs out there that are geared towards helping businesses re-gear and get back up and running. I think SharedWork is one of the most impactful for those that lean on their employees. Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming by today, Rafael.
My pleasure. My pleasure. If we help one, we help. It has a ripple effect.
There we go.
By telling Jonah tell others, and that's how it happens. That's how the movement will happen. So I'm very honored that you've given me this opportunity for 15 minutes, 20 minutes to share this. We can provide you the PowerPoint slide and any examples that you need for your group to get the word out, James. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, I'll do some more research.
Were there any other questions that we had for Rafael before the end of our presentation today?
Okay, that's done. That was not what I thought it was going to be.
Lee Doyle, I miss you. It's good to see you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up today. I appreciate you guys showing up for our ScaleUp Mastermind event. Thank you, Rafael from ESD for coming in and sharing with us what you had on the SharedWork program, and hopefully those on the call can take advantage of this great program that can help your business tremendously.
Great.
So again, that's our program for this afternoon. Join us next month, second Wednesday of the month, for our next